are back. Thank you for staying with us. We continue with this conversation. Remember, hashtag Badoni Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle. My handle is at Jain Wambui. We have with us Duncan, Juma, and Kendi Juma. They are the couple that have graced us this morning. And of course, we have Anastacia, Kevoga, who is a marriage and family counselor. Now, let's get back to this conversation all about money, love, and finance and marriage. Hey, finances is really stuck on me. Let me come to you, Kendi. In the marriage, of course, we have our extended family, and with that also comes responsibilities. And you know, during the break, you mentioned you're a firstborn, and we all know when you're a firstborn, you are the deputy parent in that entire chain that follows you behind. And popularly, it's called black tax, where you have to take care of some of your siblings to some extent or at a certain phase in life. From what you have experienced and from what you have learned, how does this affect the financial health of a marriage?
Wambui does to a very large extent.
Yes.
But I think, like Anastacia said, before you get married, you both need to discuss. It should also be wrong for me to get married to Juma, then we stop supporting, maybe paying school fees for the siblings. Yeah, he has a younger brother. I also have a younger sister, and I used to support them. But we need to agree this will continue maybe till university. When he's on his feet, then we can let go. You know, but we can't just stop all of a sudden supporting the family. But also don't forget, like I'd also said during the break, you're both one family. Don't forget about yourselves as much as you're helping people.
Yes.
And even if you guys are going to help people, what percentage? So it's not that you guys, you're earning your money, but most of your money is going to helping other people. You have your projects, you have your plans. Please don't forget about your plans at the expense of helping their families.
But we also see other couples when they get married and najua bas sasa wacha nikuonyeshe ninalipia na ni school fees na sikuwa namlipia. You know, they take advantage of their partner. And that brings me to you, Juma. You know, what do you make of this setup when you have those that had previous responsibilities that they will come with into marriage, and there are those who think, okay, now that I'm in this marriage, I will show you how we do this thing. When it comes to the extent to which you can help the extended family with your finances.
Yeah, I think I agree with Anastacia. When you need to have pre-marriage conversations around the whole, whether it's an ecosystem or the context that the context that you find yourself in.
Yes. Get
to know many men have been exploited, wrongly so. You know, where your value was based on how you are floating your cash power, money power. I even know during COVID context where a lot of men who lost their jobs could hardly even stay at home because then they were known to be, like, they used money as the stick that made them, you know, which is very good. Sometimes we are humble just because we don't have power. If we don't have money, if I had money, maybe, anyway. So those conversations would help so that, because for example, I don't think you should just live for yourself alone. I know Kendi says we have plans, and it's a good thing, and that's why she's a planner. I usually tell her, this is where we are going, build structures for us, me, I'll sponsor. And so, but the context is, at least if you're gonna help society, agree. And society could mean your immediate family members, it could mean a neighbor. When we talk about blacks, in the African philosophy or African way of living, there was a sense in which a community would come together, sponsor you to go as far as you can. But when you find bread, please bring a bit of it home. So in a marriage setup, agree on what bread is then going in this space. Think of a scenario where you live, maybe those of us who are in Nairobi, and then you go home and your car gets stuck. And they know that there was a harambe for some needy kid, and you had powers to assist and you did not. So there's a bit of buying that social capital to say, but have conversation around it. Even think of scenarios like where you send money to certain quarters. If you're not heavily transparent, it can be a cause of, think of a context where someone finds out you've actually been paying school fees for a child and they didn't know. In their world, then they are like, what more do you have in store? What skeletons do you have that I do not know? So I think that's, and money is very emotive. Sometimes we get married when we are just barely starting out in life. We haven't met money, or we haven't met, or you can get married to someone who has money and it disappears, in that sense. They lose their job. How you manage those sessions, and then how that translates to the help you accord to your family members, it should be part of your conversation. But be as realistic as possible. Set very realistic expectations. Don't set yourself up for failure. As she said, help from a place of strength. Most times we help, yet we ourselves are not stable.
Yes.
Your landlord akituma padlock emoji on, you panic, They say a lot of Kenyans are one medical bill away from poverty, so help from a place of strength. And sometimes when you're strong, then you're able to even help more.
All right. Now, coming to you, Anastacia, how would you advise couples to go about this, handling the extended family with the financial responsibilities that it comes with? Because I know it gets some time where, you have to live with maybe one of their parents, the in-law, financial issues, medical issues coming along the journey, to safely navigate these waters in a way that will not serve to your disservice as a couple.
Thank you very much again. I want to say that it's very important to talk about even helping the outsiders, because you are not loners. I was born and brought up somewhere. He was born and brought up somewhere, and there are people around us. It's good to support, because one of the things that we need to encourage is social support, as he has said. The social capital, because you need to build network around yourself. However, as Kendi has said, let's not forget about ourselves. We usually say in our profession, as I'm helping others, remember I must be the person who is one of the others, and I must be first start with me and then the others. Marriage is physical, whereby you can be strong. There are those strong areas as an individual, and the strength can go for such a time, because we have the age, the biological clockwork still against us. So there is that age of between 30 or 20 to 40, whereby the couple, you're strong and you can be very productive and fruitful. That is the age whereby you can really put across other finances outside. But between 40 and 60, you need to also now start building yourself, because you're building for your legacy in the future. And if you did leave something for you, also the bread that you're giving people, you'll also be begging for bread. And we are discouraging that I'll be waiting at the gate for my children to help me. And therefore, we need to plan along that line and ask ourselves, okay, it's very good because I have parents, they have parents. We have to support them. But we need to agree at what extent. Sometimes you get emergencies, and these emergencies, we also need to discuss as a couple. How will we be handling emergencies? Like somebody has called you, please help me with 20,000 or 10,000. It is very courteous to say, we have, sorry for what has come up, but we can only be able, out of the 20,000, we can only be able to assist you with 2,000. Because it's good to be realistic, as we have said, because sometimes you can be outstretched and your strength is gone, and that builds a conflict. And also, if you're a man or a woman and you had a baby outside marriage, it is also good to talk about them, because honestly, how can you forget your biological child? Even wherever they are, if they are disowned, remember you are the father. And personally, I usually see, I have no issue. If my husband tells me that he had a kid outside before we got married, I have no problem. Even when they come to my family, why? Because they are part and parcel of my husband. And therefore, it's good to discuss about it. But some people, they are co-parenting outside and they are married elsewhere. It is also good to say that I usually said 5,000 for my son, who I got before marriage, and it's okay. I'm sure it's agreeable, because why should I refuse my son or my stepson to be helped, or my stepdaughter? But many don't communicate. It still remains a gray area. So communicate about it. Say that I have a brother, I have a sister, I have my auntie, I am supporting this project, and therefore this amount of money I'll be giving it out, and sometimes discuss along that money. If the money is not enough, still say that this time is not enough, we are going to give 5,000 or 2,000.
All right. Transparency cuts across board. Now, you've actually mentioned the aspect of children, and that is where we are coming, actually. Children in line with money. Children, as long as you agree to have a child, money will be involved. And this is also an area that so many couples struggle with. One couple wants to take the one person wants to take children to this school. The other says, okay, that's not practical. Let's take them here. The other one says, okay, maybe I wasn't brought up that way. In our family, we go to this school, and this costs this much. And this is a disservice to the couple. Let me start with you, Juma. When it comes to agreeing on finances that involve the children, down to even the kind of toys that you buy for them and the financial responsibility that it comes with.
I like where we are going. You know, this is a good place. One of the things maybe you mentioned about, even let me mention a little bit about school. Many parents are very aloof to whatever happens to school. So they don't even know that a good school can be affordable. Yes. I wanted to say cheap, but I think it's not politically correct.
Cheap can be relative.
I'm on TV. So a school can have very good routines, good teachers, and affordable.
Yes.
But sometimes we buy into the name of a school, or, you know, I also want my child to be in that school bus, you know, yet maybe you can have an do the guy just deliver the package. Anyway, so my point is then having discussions on which school fits what profile and the kind of, because a lot of people get themselves into financial debt by over-investing in their children's education. For once, I went to a school where, and I don't know whether I'm a template enough, but I went to a school where literally my motivation for going to school was that the mango trees were there and they were so tall. So if you didn't come early, the early birds will pick the mangoes that fall by themselves. But I somehow came out right. I'm on TV. So I think get to know the routine of schools and just agree as a team.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes we have even scenarios where parents give ultimatums to their partners, like if my child doesn't go to this school, this is it. But also get involved so that you know what really fits. But also understand your money power and project in and say, in case of a hitch, how do we go about it? There are people who buy children annoying toys, you know, and also understand the personality of your kid. That's another thing. Sometimes, I'm sure you've gone to a home where you find a kid jumping all over the place on the seat. Then you're like, these parents are not very good. But actually, you realize maybe the kid is a heavily extroverted kid, but because the guests came, wakasema kunywa soda na mgeni, you know, they spiked the little boy, and then are telling, sit down. You end up punishing a child for a mistake that is yours and not hers. So getting to discuss on how far you can spend money on some of these things. I know of parents who agree with the kids before they go to the supermarket and say, what do you need? So when you go to the supermarket, we buy you what you need. You said you want, not what you saw and thought you should be having.
Yes.
And those are serious conversations around just spending. But also, of course, before you even reach children, sometimes also what parents think are emblems to show love to their children. I live in a place where every child has a bicycle, and we don't have a place for the bicycles to be ridden. So I don't know whether they're teaching them mechanical stuff on the bicycle. But the point is, just because the neighbor has, you can talk to your children to a place where you say, I may not buy you a bicycle, but if you work hard, or I'm told all parents are benevolent dictators, if you work very hard, looks like I'll give you a car in future, you know. So
the future looks bright.
Yeah, the future looks bright. I'm working hard to get. So, but by and large, is that anything that strains your finances needs to be talked to.
Okay.
Anything that if there's a dynamic that changes will strain you. It's something. Of course, there's also luck. You can actually overinvest and somehow you get a promotion at work. Who knows what the limits of God are? But you know, God may not be limited to you. So. Give your children a good shot at life, but at the same time, don't kill yourself doing it.
Okay. That also, I would like to hear also from you, Kendi. Understanding that you have to provide for your children, that goes without saying. It is your responsibility, but also doing it in a way that doesn't compromise your financial standing as a couple.
I agree with Juma. Because also, yeah, I believe, Wambui, there's no need of us like straining. Because I also think at times we do some of these things to be like the Johannesses, like these guys have gone to this school. And I also believe also in marriage, there's a lot of peer pressure, you know, in terms of maybe the car you drive, where you go to school, where you live. But maybe it's not our season for being in this particular school, I'm living in this particular neighborhood. But as long as we're able to agree, maybe if we are taking our child to this particular school, what do we want to see? What is the outcome of our children? It does not have to be an expensive school, but a good school that helps us bring up good kids. But you need to have those discussions even before. If you're able to afford, well and good. If you're not able to afford, look for other options that will give you guys good quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
So conversations around the children and the expenses that they come along with, lay them bare on the table and work within your means.
Yes.
All right, now as we are drawing nearer to the end, and we cannot conclude without talking about debt. Debt. Kuna wale ukuja nazo kwa ndoa na kuna wale they accrue debt while in marriage. What comes to mind immediately when we talk about debt? What jumps out at you?
Things like loans, you know, you could take a loan and things don't work out, maybe you lose your job. How are you going to handle that debt as a family? Or even before I got married, I mean, say for example, if we met each other while we were working, maybe I'd taken a loan to educate my siblings, or maybe I'd taken a loan to buy a piece of land. How are we handling that in our marriage relationship? Will I continue paying the loan, or maybe if he has extra money and is able to help, how are you going to handle money? Or maybe alichukua deni akaenda akanunua shamba hakuniambia, yeah, you know, and then we find ourselves in a crisis. Debt is a very big thing that we need to talk about as a family. You know, how do we handle it as far as our relationship is concerned? Because it will bite you at one point whether you want it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Juma, you agreed?
Yeah, you know, when you get married, they say you're getting married to her, but you also get married to her drunk uncle.
The whole family.
Her debt. Actually, I know my uncles are watching.
Tarudisha ng'ombe.
In fact, someone said, if children wanakusumbua waachie madeni wakukumbuke. But the point is, debt, it's worth a conversation. Don't just talk about the fries of this place, the nice ambience of this hotel. When you're dating, talk about serious stuff like, what is your money doing currently? You know,
uko na loan gani sahi?
Hata si loan, unasema pesa yako huwa inaenda. There's a time I had 1.5 million loan when I was young. And the problem is, I didn't know what that money had done. You understand? You know, when you have a loan and you look back and like you don't know, and you know. And I remember at some point being slightly delinquent. I think what I did is I paid up front. I'm like, hey, I owe this bank this money, so let me cover myself for a whole year. I was just jumping out of employment. Then the loan had an anniversary date. Like every month you must show something. I paid you money for 2 years. What's wrong, you know? So they kept calling. So I used to have very nice conversation with them. One day I told them, your loan, I used to buy things that I didn't need. So you guys, we are in this together. Let's figure out a way.
We made this bad decision together.
They kept calling me. I went to their office. I'm like, guys, don't call me. You know. But the point is, talk about debt. Some of us get, you know, they say averagely, okay, I'll not mention, but there's a certain loan app that they say averagely people are taking at least 7 times in a month. That means when you pay, it gives you another chance to. So it could be not the bank loan, it just could be that your phone.
Availability.
You every day, you go home for Christmas and you have access to monies that, you know, and these things delete the, anyway.
Money that you don't need.
They do your advertising, so I can't say that. But talk about those little money habits around. There are people who constantly cannot live with, you've seen fresh juice and you have an app that can give you little coins to access. So money habits, but also now debt management. So you look at constructive debt that helps you move forward. There's a debt that you can have that will kill you. The debt you can have that actually says, I know I'm playing small, but after this I will have made some strides.
Bad debt and good debt.
Bad debt and good debt. Yeah.
All right. Anastacia, also your thoughts on the same when it comes to handling debt management, because we know debt can be the death of a marriage.
We talk about psychology of spending.
Yes.
And this one, we said it depends on this personality. Also, are you mentally stable? You know, the people when they are depressed and stressed, they misuse money without their awareness. So are you mentally stable even as you're spending? And that is why two are better than one, because there is that planning and there is that communication around that. There is sometimes when you talk about debt, there are people who are entering into gambling, the betting. It's quite an addiction that is upcoming, and it has brought a lot of conflicts within families, and people are even getting loans to go and bet.
Yes.
And therefore, I still say, let's talk about the money that we have, because when the money is, it's known, it's either you're doing it, you're keeping it for yourself in the account, or you're putting it together in the account. But let it be known. Because when your partner knows about how much I earn or how much I have or what revolves around me, it may not be the correct figure, but what revolves around me, at least they are able to track you, and they will also help you. I've seen families, I have cancelled families who broke because of gambling. Somebody bet, there is a couple that the man, Ali bet how? So you can imagine that without them saying, you're imagining that the people are coming to get you out of the house and you're not aware. You can imagine where those people are. I really want to say that debts are there, but you need to ask yourself, are you psychologically okay? Are you mentally stable? Is there something that is emotionally driving you to do whatever you're doing? Because sometimes you see somebody was not drinking and all of a sudden they have started drinking. What could be going on? You know, those are things that you never bother. And these people might be even getting loan to go to those things. And all those things. Are you socially getting a spendthrift because of your social, the people who allowed you? We say the 5 men or the 5 women allowed me. They can really determine how I spend my money. And therefore socially, and do I have a network that all of a sudden, you know, Kendi, you can notice that your husband, all of a sudden the spending has gone up. Maybe the class of the people, and as they have said, please let's grow gradually. If you're not yet there, don't jump there, because when you jump there, you'll jump into a hot soup, and then you want to maintain a social culture. You know, there are people who the pressure from outside, it's quite much, and it's forcing you people, because why should I move house because my neighbors moved house? I should wait until my turn comes. And that is also what happens to the children, as they were discussing about the children.
Yes.
Look for a school whereby there are various systems. Look for a school whereby there is character formation of my children. Look for a school that I can afford, and all those things. And look for a school whereby the structures are okay, because again, you can't just look for a school for the sake of looking for a school. And I usually say, invest in a child as opposed to investing for a child. There are people who are very busy building houses, building for the children and buying land, but they also don't invest in the child. Even time, it's also an investment for the child. Therefore, let's look at all those things.
All right.
And it will be easy for us. And let's not grow fast, but let's grow gradually.
Progress.
Yes, progressively.
All right. Now, there's Rachel here who's saying a big part of marriage is creating a life you love together. Money is simply a tool to help you realize those dreams. Then there's another one here who's saying, this is Ada. Hey, women. Some use marriage to escape not working for their money. Marriage is not a career.
It's true.
All right, there's another one here. Let me quickly get it. This one was from a man. Yes, I'm going to leave out some words. I'm going to paraphrase this. If two people decide to become one, in itself you have promised money, marriage, cabbages, standing on one leg, and every other thing that comes with the other individual, with money being at the center. Okay? Then there's another one here from Afolabi, who says, things as a man that I would prioritize. We have marriage, education for my children, the woman you're marrying, and of course, money and peace of mind. All right. Now, as we close this conversation, very briefly, when it comes to bank accounts, what's your advice to couples? We start with you, Kendi.
I don't think there's any written rule. It would go back to the two of you. For example, if we were both working by the time we met, I had a bank account, the process of changing my documents for me is a problem. But you can agree to have your different accounts, but also a joint account where maybe you use for your projects.
Okay.
But maybe my account is for sorting out my issues. Like Anastacia said, as long as, say, Juma knows I have this blanket, I mean, like he knows, or he's already accessed my pay slip, he knows how much I earn. And if he's doing business, I know how much he earns.
Right.
Yes. As long as we have that openness and there's no room for suspicion, I can run my account where I'm able to sort out my other things. So that you're not married and you're being policed by your spouse. Like, how much did you spend the last shilling receipt? You know? Have that honesty, but you can also have a joint account for your projects. That's what I
so
believe.
to each their own, but you know, having a common pool would be works.
That's what I'm saying. It's not cast on stone. Depends on what works for the two of you.
To each their own. Juma, very briefly on the same when it comes to bank accounts.
The accounts are everywhere. You can have an M-Pesa account. The accounts are all over. So if you're running your own, we don't have a joint account. We've been trying, but I don't think. I don't know. I think the planner is still planning. So I think agree on what needs to be done, and you do it whichever way you want to do it. Maybe just a caveat to something we had alluded a while is learning to readjust when your fortunes dwindle. We can have bank accounts that are dry. So learning to know that when things hit the roof, build a scenario where you can actually talk your woman into saying, hey, we're going to live slightly lower than our current level of privilege. So our bank accounts are dry. So let's go to Mukuru and enjoy the Lord's doing.
All right. Anastacia, as we close this conversation, your thoughts when it comes to bank accounts or the different places to which our money comes in?
Thank you very much again. That's a good question.
We have about a minute to go.
The bank account, I will say, like Kendi has said, agree as a couple what works for you, because we cannot say, like, there are people who can be manipulative because maybe a woman is extroverted or introverted and they want to control the man, or the man want to control a woman. That is manipulation. Let there be an agreement. The money has no problem. Even if the money is in my account and your money is in your account, as long as there is a budget, there is responsibility and commitment and accountability, it will work out best according to the couple. Communicate around money. And then love will flourish.
Communicate around money. Transparency is important through and through. Well, this brings us to a close of this conversation. Again, we cannot discuss everything in this one sitting, but we do appreciate the time you have accorded to be with us here on Good Morning Kenya. I have been speaking with Anastacia Kevoga. She is a marriage and a family counselor. Thank you so much, Anastacia. We have also been speaking with Duncan, Juma, and Kendi Juma. They are the couple that have been with us through this discussion. Thank you, lady and gent.
Thank you.
We appreciate that you made time to be with us today. And again, thank you for being with us. Remember, we do this every single day here on Good Morning Kenya from Monday through to Thursday. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning for another beautiful discussion. My name is Jain Wambui. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.